Title: My wife ignored me on my birthday for him. My revenge shocked her. The birthday cake sat untouched on the dining table, its candles melted into uneven stubs, the chocolate frosting I'd chosen because it was my favorite now a mocking reminder of the night's ruin. My 40th birthday, a milestone I'd hoped to share with her, had turned into a stage for her betrayal. Nerys, my wife, stood by the fireplace, her laughter bright as she leaned into him. Kael, her gallery partner, her focus entirely on him, as if I, Calen, wasn't even there. I watched, my heart sinking, until I couldn't bear it anymore, and I walked out, the door's quiet click louder than any scream. I'm Calen, a man who fades into the background, slender, soft-spoken, with emotions that cut too deep. Nerys called me overly sensitive, her words a whip she cracked with a smirk, making me feel small. I'd loved her since our first date, her passion for art a flame I thought we'd share, her gallery a dream I supported with late nights at the print shop. But that flame had turned cold, her passion a wall I couldn't breach. Her late meetings, her dismissive sneers, the way she'd brush off my concerns, they were signs I ignored, hoping love could fix us. The night air was sharp as I stepped onto the porch, the party's muffled noise behind me a cruel contrast to the silence in my chest. I'd planned this evening for weeks, stringing lights, cooking her favorite salmon, inviting her friends to make her shine. But all night, she'd been glued to Kael, her laughter for him, her hand brushing his arm, her eyes never once meeting mine. You're being dramatic, Calen, she'd said earlier when I asked her to mingle with me, her tone cutting. I'd swallowed the hurt, like always, but seeing her so blatantly ignore me on my birthday broke something inside. I drove aimlessly, the city lights blurring through tears I couldn't stop. My mind replayed her laughter, Kael's smug grin, the way they'd stood so close, oblivious to me. I'd found a text on her phone last month, from him, meet me after work, but she'd laughed it off, calling me paranoid. You're so needy, she'd said, and I believed her, thought I was the problem. Now, the truth was undeniable, a knife in my gut. I pulled into a parking lot, my hands trembling, and texted Amos, my only friend who saw through Nerys' charm. She ignored me all night for Kael. I left. His reply was swift. Come over, Calen. You don't deserve this. Amos's apartment, a cluttered loft above a bakery, smelled of yeast and paint, a haven from the storm inside me. He opened the door, his face softening as he pulled me into a hug. She's a piece of work, he said, handing me a beer. I spilled everything, the party, her focus on Kael, my escape. Amos's jaw tightened. She's cheating, Calen. You know it. Don't let her gaslight you. His words were a jolt, the truth I'd dodged now staring me down. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but the thought of her sneer stopped me. Instead, I opened my sketchbook, a secret I'd kept since she called my art childish, and drew her with Kael, the lines sharp with my pain. I wrote, I'm not invisible. The words felt like a spark, small but real, a defiance I hadn't felt in years. Amos saw, his hand on my shoulder. You're enough, Calen. She's the one losing. His support was a lifeline, and as I sat there, the city's hum a distant lullaby, I felt a resolve stirring. Nerys thought I'd stay, endure her betrayal like always, but I'd walked out, and that was the first step. I wouldn't let her make me nothing, not on my birthday, not ever. The pain was raw, but so was my determination, a fire ready to burn through her lies, while she stood by the fireplace, unaware of the storm I'd unleashed by leaving. The bakery's yeasty warmth lingered in Amos's loft, a stark contrast to the cold ache in my chest as I sat on his futon, my sketchbook open to the harsh lines of Nerys and Kael. Her laughter from the party, bright, cutting, all for him, echoed in my mind, a cruel reminder of my 40th birthday ruined by her betrayal. I'd walked out, the door's quiet click a small act of defiance, but the pain of her ignoring me, of giving Kael all her focus while I stood invisible, was a wound I couldn't ignore. I wasn't the Calen she'd mocked anymore. I was ready to fight back. Amos handed me a coffee, his eyes serious as he sat across from me. You can't let her do this, Calen, he said, his voice firm. She's playing you, and you know it. His words stung, but they were true. I'd seen the signs, her late nights, the text from Kael, her dismissive sneers, yet I'd clung to hope, believing her when she called me needy. Now, the memory of her by the fireplace, her hand on his arm, was a fire in my gut. I nodded, my voice shaky but resolute. I'm done being her shadow. I pulled out my phone, my hands trembling, and called Mara, my co-worker at the print shop who'd always seen through Nerys' charm. She ignored me all night for Kael, I said, my voice cracking. I left the party. Mara's tone was sharp, protective. Good for you, Calen. Come to the shop tomorrow, we'll figure this out. Her support, like Amos's, was a lifeline, and I felt a spark of courage. I wasn't just running, I was planning, and that felt like power, a step beyond the tears I'd shed. Back in the loft, I sketched again, this time drawing myself walking out the door, the party lights fading behind me. I wrote, "I'm not her toy." The words fueled me, a declaration against Nerys' control. But my phone buzzed, her name flashing, a text, *, where are you, Calen? You embarrassed me. *, my stomach twisted, her words a familiar jab, but I didn't reply. Instead, I showed Amos, who snorted. She's desperate, he said. She expected you to stay, take her crap. Don't give in. I nodded, the spark growing, and decided to confront her, not with pleas, but with truth. I drove back to the house, the party over, the lights still strung in the yard like a taunt. Nerys was in the kitchen, cleaning up, her face tight with annoyance. She saw me, her eyes narrowing. So you're back, she said, her voice cold. You made a scene, leaving like that. I took a breath, my heart racing, but I didn't shrink. You made a scene, Nerys, I said, my voice firm. It was my birthday, and you gave all your focus to Kael. I'm not invisible. Her eyes widened, a flicker of surprise, maybe guilt, crossing her face, but she quickly masked it with a sneer. You're overreacting, as always, she said, turning away. Her dismissal stung, but I saw the crack in her armor, her hand shaking as she wiped the counter, her usual control faltering. I know about you and Kael, I said, the words spilling out, a direct confrontation I'd never dared before. She froze, her back to me, and for a moment, I thought she'd break, confess, but she spun around, her voice sharp. You don't know anything, she snapped, but her eyes betrayed her fear, not anger, a glimpse of the Nerys who'd once admitted she feared losing everything. I didn't push further. I'd said enough, planted a seed of doubt, and I walked upstairs, leaving her in the kitchen, her facade crumbling. I lay in bed, the house quiet, my sketchbook beside me. I'd confronted her, faced her lies, and though the pain was raw, so was my strength. Amos and Mara were my anchors, their support a foundation I'd build on. Nerys thought I'd stay, endure her betrayal, but I'd walked out, and now I'd spoken up. As the city's pulse hummed outside, I knew this was just the beginning, a fight for my worth, while Nerys faced the consequences of her own choices. The morning light filtered through the bedroom curtains, a soft glow that did little to ease the storm inside me. Nerys' sharp words from last night, you don't know anything, echoed, her denial a thin veil over the fear I'd seen in her eyes. I'd confronted her about Kael, my voice steady despite the ache, a boldness I hadn't felt in years. I'd walked out of my own birthday party after she gave him all her focus, and now, after facing her, I was done being Calen, the man she called overly sensitive, the one who'd begged for scraps of her love. I was ready to take back my life. I slipped downstairs, the house still, Nerys nowhere in sight. The party remnants, streamers, empty glasses mocked me, but I ignored them, grabbing my sketchbook and heading to the print shop. Mara was waiting, her warm smile a contrast to the cold I'd left behind. You look different, Calen, she said, handing me a coffee. I told her everything, the party, Nerys' betrayal, my confrontation. Her eyes lit up with pride. You stood up to her, she said. Now let's make sure she can't hurt you. Her words were a call to action, and I nodded, ready to fight. Mara pulled out her laptop, revealing a twist. She'd hired a private investigator after I'd mentioned Kael's text weeks ago. Look at this, she said, showing me photos, Nerys and Kael, not just at the party, but at a hotel, their hands linked, spanning months. My breath caught, the betrayal deeper than I'd imagined, but it fueled my resolve. She's been using gallery funds to pay for their trips, Mara added, her voice sharp. We can use this, Calen. File for divorce, protect your assets. I wrote in my sketchbook, her lies or her undoing. The words were a fire, burning away my doubt. I texted Amos, found proof of Nerys and Kael. Filing for divorce. His reply was instant. Hell yes, Calen. I'm coming to the shop. When he arrived, his grin was wide, but his eyes were fierce. Let's make her regret this, he said, pulling me into a hug. Together, we met with Mara's lawyer friend, Elsie, who reviewed the evidence. This is solid, Calen, she said, her tone confident. We'll file today, and I'll request an audit of the gallery's finances. She won't get away with this. I felt a surge of power, My friends a fortress around me, their active roles grounding me as I took control. Back at the house, Nerys was in the living room, her face pale as she scrolled through her phone. She looked up, her eyes narrowing, but there was a tremor in her voice. "Where were you, Calen?" she asked, softer than usual, a hint of the Nerys who'd once shared her fears of failure. I saw it then, her desperation, her empire of lies cracking. "I know about the hotel, the gallery funds," I said, my voice steady, the external conflict a battlefield I was ready for. Her eyes widened, a flash of panic, and she stood, her composure crumbling. "You're ruining everything," she hissed, but her voice broke, revealing the fear beneath her venom. I didn't back down. "You ruined us, Nerys," I said, turning to leave. She grabbed my arm, her grip tight, her eyes glistening. "I was scared, Calen," she whispered, a confession I hadn't expected. "I thought Kael would save the gallery, save me." Her vulnerability hit hard, a glimpse of the woman I'd loved, but I saw the manipulation beneath. She was trying to pull me back. I pulled free, walking out, her pleas fading behind me. I drove to Amos's, my sketchbook on the seat, writing. I'm not her savior. The truth was clear, my strength growing with every step, supported by Mara, Amos, and Elsie. Nerys' betrayal was her own to face, her focus on Kael a mistake that would cost her, while I built a new path, one where I was seen, valued, and ready to fight for myself. The city streets blurred as I drove from the house, Nerys' desperate plea, I was scared, Calen a haunting echo in my mind. Her vulnerability had nearly pulled me back, but I'd walked away, her grip on my arm a fading memory, her betrayal with Kael a fire fueling my resolve. I'd confronted her, exposed her lies about the gallery funds, and now, with Elsie's divorce filing and Mara's evidence, I was taking control. I wasn't the Calen she'd mocked as overly sensitive, the one who'd stood invisible at my own birthday party while she gave Kael all her focus. I was fighting for myself, and it felt like freedom. At Amos's loft, the smell of paint and coffee grounded me as I sat on his couch, my sketchbook open. I'd drawn Nerys and Kael by the fireplace, but now I sketched myself walking away, the door open, light pouring in. I wrote, "I choose me." The words were a vow, a step beyond the pain. Amos, sketching nearby, glanced over. "You're killing it, Calen," he said, his grin wide. "She's losing her mind, and you're building something better." His support, alongside Mara's, was a fortress, their active roles in my fight a reminder I wasn't alone. Mara called, her voice urgent. "We've got a twist, Calen," she said. "The gallery audit found more. Nerys and Kael were planning to sell it, split the profits, and leave you with the debts." My breath caught, the betrayal slicing deeper, but it solidified my determination. "Kael's turning on her," Mara added. "He's offering to testify for a deal." I felt a surge of power, Nerys' empire crumbling faster than I'd expected. "File everything, Mara," I said, my voice firm. "I want her to face the consequences." Mara's laugh was fierce. "Already on it, Calen." I decided to confront Nerys again, this time publicly, to show her I wasn't hiding. I drove to the gallery, where she was hosting a small event, her facade of control back in place as she mingled with clients. Kael was there, his expression tense, their whispers sharp. I walked in, my heart pounding, the external conflict a battlefield I was ready for. "Nerys," I called, loud enough for heads to turn. She froze, her smile faltering, a flicker of fear in her eyes. "I know about the sale, the debts," I said, my voice steady. "You're done." The room hushed, her clients murmuring, Kael stepping back as if burned. Nerys' face twisted, a mix of rage and desperation, but her voice trembled. "You're ruining me," she whispered, a confession of her fear, not remorse. I didn't stay for her reply. I walked out, the murmurs following me, her public unraveling a victory I hadn't expected. Back at Amos's, I wrote, "Her empire falls, not mine." The pain of her betrayal, her focus on Kael, her lies, still stung, but I was moving forward. Elsie texted, "Divorce papers served, Calen. Audit results sent to the court. She's facing charges." Relief washed over me, the legal battle tipping in my favor, Nerys' world collapsing as Kael's betrayal sealed her fate. Amos clapped my shoulder. "You're free, man," he said, and I felt it, the weight lifting, my strength real. I wasn't done yet. The gallery event, the evidence, the divorce, they were steps, but I needed more, a way to turn my pain into something lasting. Mara suggested a writing group, a place to share my sketches and words, and I agreed, the seed of a new life taking root. Nerys' betrayal had been a storm, her focus on Kael a wound, but I'd walked out, fought back, with Amos, Mara, and Elsie by my side. As the city's lights twinkled outside, I knew the final piece was coming, a way to heal, to create. While Nerys faced the wreckage of her choices alone, her laughter a memory I'd outgrown. The morning sun spilled through the bakery's windows below Amos's loft, casting a warm glow on my sketchbook as I sat with a coffee, the city waking around me. Nerys' public unraveling at the gallery, her trembling voice, "You're ruining me," was a fading echo, her betrayal with Kael now a legal storm she couldn't escape. The divorce was underway, her fraudulent gallery dealings exposed, and Kael's testimony had sealed her fate. I'd walked out of my own birthday party when she gave him all her focus, but that moment had sparked my fight, and now, Calen, the man she'd called overly sensitive, was building a life she couldn't touch. Elsie called, her voice bright. "It's finalized, Calen," she said. "The judge awarded you the house, and Nerys is facing charges for fraud. Kael's cut a deal, left her to take the fall." A final twist, Nerys had tried to pin the gallery's debts on me, but Elsie uncovered forged documents, proving her intent. I exhaled, relief flooding me. Nerys' fear at the gallery, her desperate plea, was her own to bear, her empire of lies and ruins. I didn't gloat. Her downfall was her own, a consequence of her choices, while I turned my pain into something new. I moved back into the house, transforming it from a cage of her betrayal into a home. I painted the walls a soft gray, hung my sketches, once hidden from her scorn, and turned the dining room, where the birthday cake had sat untouched, into a studio. The writing group Mara introduced me to became a sanctuary, their encouragement a balm. Among them was Lila, a sculptor with a quiet smile and hands that shaped clay like she shaped my healing. We'd grown close, our talks about art turning to walks, then dinners, her presence a light I hadn't known I needed. At the group showcase, I shared a series of sketches, my birthday party, Nerys with Kael, me walking out, and finally, a self-portrait in the studio, light streaming in. I paired them with a short essay, not invisible, my words raw but real. Lila read it aloud, her voice steady, and the applause was warm, a rush of pride replacing the shame Nerys had instilled. "You're incredible, Calen," Lila said, her hand in mine, and I believed her. The weight of Nerys' insults, needy, dramatic gone. Amos and Mara were there, Amos clapping loudest, Mara's eyes shining. "You turned pain into beauty," she said, her support a constant through my fight. A final act of closure came when I donated the melted birthday cake, preserved in a glass case, to the group's art auction, a symbolic piece titled Unseen Celebration. It sold for a small sum, the proceeds funding a youth art program, a gesture that felt like reclaiming my birthday, turning betrayal into hope. Nerys faded to a memory, her charges leading to probation, her gallery shuttered, Kael long gone. I didn't care. My focus was here, with Lila's laughter, Amos's sketches on my walls, Mara's text about new writing gigs, my art in the world. I started running by the river, the water's rhythm matching my own, Lila often joining me, her hand in mine a quiet joy. Happiness wasn't loud, it was Lila's touch, the group's applause, Amos's bad puns, my sketches in a local gallery. Nerys had given Kael all her focus, leaving me invisible, but I'd walked out, fought back, with Amos, Mara, and Elsie by my side. The external conflict at the gallery, the legal battle, had been my stage to stand tall, and I'd won, not by her rules, but by creating. As I stood in the studio, Lila at my side, the unseen celebration piece replaced by a new sketch of us, I knew I'd turned 40 into a new beginning, a life of art, love, and light, while Nerys faced the emptiness of her own making. Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read them all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help this video reach more viewers. See you in the next one.